Excellent. All right. Welcome. This is really exciting.
Yeah.
Welcome to Designing Adobe XD. I'm Talon Wadsworth. I'm your host. I'm the lead designer for Adobe XD. And let me introduce I'll let him introduce himself.
I'm Sam Anderson. I'm a design intern on the XD team, so I work with Talon here.
Yes, our intrepid intern.
Yeah.
And we are from the Adobe XD design team. And here, this is our new weekly segment where we're going to be just talking about all things XD, give you a little insight into our process, kind of how we work, maybe even how we use XD, because we know a lot about XD, so we use it in really crazy, cool ways.
Yeah.
I hope that people think that. And we'll just be talking about whatever topic is on your mind. You know, if you're here and you're joining us and you have ideas, feedback on XD, we'd love to hear that. We'd love to answer your questions about XD if you've got them. Again, like, we're just here to be here and talk about XD. And yeah, we'll have different topics every week. I'll have new guests coming in and joining us, different experts from the team on the related, whatever we're talking about that week. And yeah, hey to the chat. Tim, Matthias, always good to see you guys. Hey there, Anna, how are you? Richa, Yanina, Munir, he's a regular. Munir's,
lovely.
It's always cool to like, but I only know them by their avatars. So, Sam, have you ever live streamed before?
No, this is my first time.
First time?
Yeah, first time.
All right.
Yeah.
Green, on the green screen.
On the green screen.
All right.
Yeah.
So so this is gonna be a weekly thing. So be sure to mark it and tune in. Man, Adobe Live is just doing all kinds of cool things. So here we are. We're at your service. Let us know.
Boom.
All right. Well, today we do have a topic, and it's kind of a hot topic right now in the design world.
Absolutely.
Everybody's talking about it. All the cool kids.
Thanks, Pedro. That's great.
Yes, Anna. This will be every Friday. So yeah, today. We are here to talk about design systems. Sam and I have been thinking a lot and been immersed in design systems for a while now. Again, it's something that we here as a bigger Adobe design team are really excited about the possibilities. And again, it's a real hot buzzword thing out there. Everybody is doing it in slightly different ways. And so we're here to talk about that. But if you don't know about it, don't worry, because we're actually here to provide some of that information for you. So Sam, I'm actually going to let Sam take it away. Sam,
yeah, for sure.
Tell us what a design system is.
What is a design system?
What is a design system? Tell us
Absolutely.
what it is.
So design system, if you're familiar with what like a brand guideline is, it's similar to what a brand guideline will be, where it's
a style guide.
Or a style guide, right?
That's what we used to
call it. So design
it.
system it's a collection of components or reusable attributes of a design that are outlined in some sort of documentation that show all of these different buttons, different types of like components, and how you can reuse them. Yeah, UI components that you can reuse in your design. So the goal of a design system is to outline what all these different user interface elements look like, so that across a company's products they all look the same, right? So Adobe's got one. We have one called Spectrum. Airbnb has one as well, and they're all following the system so that all their colors, all their buttons, everything on every aspect of what they make is all consistent.
Now, is that just for design, or is it? You mentioned Spectrum, so why as a designer is this important for me to use? Like, why would I use a design system?
Well, it's important to be consistent, and then it also, of course, consistency across the products is really important. I heard one of the Googles from one of the designers from Google. Actually said, like, before material design, which is Google's design system, came about, they were using like 42 different shades of blue, like across Google products, and that's where material design became important because it it unified what those design components look like. And then on the design side, for designers like us, having a design system is important because it helps us get to actual tangible designs faster. Because we don't have to actually design those components from scratch. We can use the design system to say, hey, we know what this button's going to look like, and this form, and this kind of header image is going to look like, and we can just kind of copy and paste.
I don't need to design a button every time I go and design an interface here.
Exactly.
Right, that's the goal.
Yeah.
So the goal is consistency, so the design team stays in sync, right? Not duplicating work, not using 42 shades of blue.
Yeah.
That always happens. And but then also my developer is also like this shortens, right? Like at a certain point, I want to see the design in the design file, like the button, but I want to see that reflected in code, right?
Yeah.
And I want a connection between those things.
That's big for a lot of design systems nowadays. So you'll see, if you look up different companies' design systems, you'll see what they look like visually, but then you'll also see them outlined in code.
In code.
Yeah.
So you have the same design component, the UI component, in your design file that your whole team is using, and they're all using the same one.
Hopefully.
One of the problems.
Yeah.
But then your developer has that exact same button in code, and it looks the same, it's styled the same, it's got the same shade of blue as your design file, and it's probably labeled or named in the same way as well.
Yeah, so they're using these components to actually, so I mean, hopefully if those two systems are in sync, the pixel design, let's say, and the code design, then the developer can actually start using what the designers are using, which is something Airbnb is actually really good at. Yeah.
Efficiency.
Yeah.
Synergy.
For sure.
Yeah. I have mixed feelings about design systems. We can talk about that later. But
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, do you guys? Is anyone there in the chat? Do you guys work at a place that have you designed a design system or a style guide before?
Or have you
Let us
used
know.
one?
Have
Yeah.
you used one?
Yeah.
Let us know. I actually think that we've all used one in some way, even without knowing it.
Really?
I actually think we all have. If you have designed for a device, probably the most well-known device in the world, and any of your design tasks has been to design an app for iOS, you have used a design system in some way, in some shape or form, inside that application, or even that website that you're imagining that whoever's going to be viewing it will be viewing it on your phone.
So iOS as a design system.
iOS. I'm saying it here, and again, I don't know if anyone's really thought about this, but iOS, and we're gonna actually I have it up here on my screen, because when Apple first released iOS, they released this document that really didn't seem like it was for designers, but it just made a lot of sense to me. They gave the human interface guidelines. They said, if you want to design a successful app for this device, here's how you do that. And they gave you the tools right here, and they outlined it in this. First, it was a PDF. The first version of this was a PDF.
Oh my gosh, wow.
I may still have it on my laptop here somewhere.
It's been around for a while.
Been around since it was the first release. It was the first iPhone.
Yeah.
Like it actually, again, like, so what was it? 8 years ago? Wow, it feels like it's been with us
10
forever.
years? 10 years.
Yeah, I don't. If anyone of you guys know, let me know. Sean, he's designed his own design system. It gets complex really quick, and again, that's why I think that Apple has been so successful, because it's there in the results, like iOS and the Apple App Store, right? The number of apps that were created for the phone just exploded, and I put a lot of that success on this human interface guidelines, on this Apple's iOS design system. Like, because what it did was it gave me, so it told me what I'm designing for.
Yeah, let's look at it.
It gave me some again, it's sort of, I mean, it's gotten a ton better. And there's all kinds of new information here. Again, just to help you be more successful designing or creating iOS apps. And again, this is for designers and developers.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the design and what it looks like, but the meaning behind these decisions and why these certain design patterns work well.
Right? Yeah. And again, you know that because pretty much anyone can pick up an iOS device and go in and use an app and find their way around. And it's because Apple just created a great design system.
Absolutely, yeah.
So again, it has a bunch of design sort of principles. It talks about, actually has started now talking specifically about the devices, again, because the iPhone X has some new things and plays by some new rules. So it's good to have. It talks about again, like, we think about design systems as just designs, but there's also this layer of interaction that happens in UX design, and you want that to feel consistent across the whole system, right? So it talks about that. And of course, the most important part for everyone out here, all the designers who've joined us, is they actually, I remember, I think it was like 1 or 2 people who first put this together at Apple.
Really?
Like it was like a skunkworks kind of thing.
Okay.
Because they were designers, they had these problems in communicating these ideas to their developers, so they put together a file It was a Photoshop file, and then I think it was a sketch file that you could actually download and actually use all of these iOS components, right? Actually, no, it was the duo, the guy Tihan and Lex.
Oh, Tihan Lex
did the first design
Yeah.
file
Yeah.
for iOS.
And
then Apple did one
Okay.
thing that of their own.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but what was really cool, and you wouldn't know this unless, again, as a designer, unless you'd worked with your developer, had played inside of any of the development tools. But so I can download now, actually for XD, the iOS design system file for XD. So here it is now.
That's what it looks like, yeah.
In XD, and it has all those same components that you see and know and love from all the different iOS apps, right? But this is the really cool part, and this was the thing that really broke my mind when I found out about it. I took a iOS dev boot camp, and I got to use Xcode for the first time.
Oh, Xcode.
And inside of Xcode, those components were authored in code, and they were just available for my developer to drag and drop in the app. So if I had used in my design this toggle switch, that's the same toggle switch styled the same exact way inside of Xcode.
That's powerful.
I mean, that's really the end-to-end vision of a design system right there.
Absolutely.
So yeah, iOS. Yeah. Wow.
That's a big one because I mean, they started simple, and they built it up. With the first iPhone, you didn't even have an app store, right?
Yeah.
And it was just swiping between pages. But
Yep.
then, even as you've seen it evolve throughout the different iPhones and iPads, it's gotten more complex, and we're using our knowledge of this design system practically. Is getting more complex. Like now, there's not even a home button, right?
Yeah.
And how would you know how to get home if you hadn't used the previous one or if you hadn't learned about that? So.
Yeah, design.
It's an evolving.
It is, and this really
yeah.
shows the importance, I think, of UX design and of UX designers really thinking very critically about these challenges and saying, like, you know, how do we ensure that anyone who uses my app, it just feels at home inside of that iOS world?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. So we had any questions here on the chat? How are you guys? How's everybody doing there? Again, this is designing Adobe XD. So we're not going to be doing actually maybe any designs, even though we could in the future if you guys want.
We could.
But today we're talking about kind of how we think about and identify problems that we want to go solve in XD. Talk about our process a little bit. And again, like, we're just here to answer questions. Like I said, we're kind of here and available. If you guys want to know anything about XD, you want to know, you want to know some crazy trivia from our early days.
Oh.
You know, you want to talk to Sam about what he's been working on. You know, like, I mean, you know, let us know. Yeah, so like this is our first show too. So if you guys want to see, if you want to have us cover any topics in the future, like, yeah, let us know. We're figuring this out as we go along. We'll be here every Friday from noon to 12:30. Tim, yes, I'm always up for new projects, man. Ooh. Tim has been like beating the ruler drum beat since I got onto the stream, and I keep like teasing about that. But yeah, I could share. I'm gonna have someone on who's actually working on rulers, Tim.
Oh,
at some point in the future. So, Marco had a good question. You know, how does XD fit alongside InDesign and Illustrator? That's a really good question. So XD is for UI and UX design. It's for creating mobile prototypes. So prototypes of my mobile application, of my web application, and you know, again, it's built for that. It's built to be fast and help you work really seamlessly and iterate very quickly, and then also share anything you create with your team. So that's how it sits different from Illustrator and InDesign. You could do similar work in InDesign and Illustrator, but it wouldn't be tailored to that, right? In Illustrator, there are so many features for you know, making amazing vector illustrations. But you know, if you want to create a design system or you want to create a mobile application, XD is the app for you. So I do have actually just found in my desk, I have 2 XD hats.
You have that's a thing?
Yeah.
XD hats?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
From a long time ago. So.
I need one of those.
David had a good question. Do you guys always design in, no, we use XD for all of our work.
Yeah. So it's kind of crazy because we're designing XD in XD.
Let's see.
It gets a few levels deep in it because we're creating prototypes of prototypes.
Yeah.
Here. In XD prototyping. If that makes any sense.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I'm going to show you guys actually our master file that we always start from.
That's fun.
So let me actually open that up and show you guys.
Yeah.
So this is when our team, the XD design team, starts working on a feature, we pull open this file right here, and this is our master presentation file. And so you can see here, like here's the XD UI inside of XD.
Yeah.
Right? Like our job gets really weird really fast.
Do you ever hit the wrong button?
All the
that
time.
happens
All the time, man.
I'll want to switch tools.
These things start getting very like I can this is 100%. Oh my goodness. Oh hey, look, the toolbar is on spec.
There we go. Yeah.
Of course, then when we start previewing things get really weird really quick. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. Next I'll bring the hats with me next time. And we'll see.
I want to see this.
Okay,
yeah.
That's pretty cool. I think we need more socks. I think we're out of socks, sadly.
We're out of socks?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh.
So, Chavez, man, he's going back. He's been paying attention. Visual versioning.
Oh, yeah.
I could tell you a whole long story about that, but let's just say we're still working on it. It touches on a lot of things here at Adobe, and we want to make sure we get it just right. Actually, it's a really good point to talk about like how we work as a team. So, we prototype, and we generate a lot of prototypes. Design prototypes, we prototype in code, and then we use that to go and actually test with designers and actually see like what they think. If this is a feature that's going to work for them. Again, we just don't launch features before we know that they're actually going to solve a problem.
Yeah.
And visual versioning was, I will say, is actually, we learned a lot in creating those prototypes, both in design and in code. And we kind of got to a place on that where we kind of had to pause a little bit because the designs we had going actually didn't seem like they just weren't getting the response. Like people weren't finding it very useful. I mean, I think the concept and the ideas and the work behind it was useful, but like the UI and the way in which it was implemented, had some challenges. So what we did is we kind of said, okay, let's reset there. Let's go do some more research. Let's go do both more research with designers and then go do research actually with our technology.
Yeah.
And so actually now visual versioning now is in a much better spot. So Chavez, stay tuned, more there. Marco, can we import templates that we designed in PS2XD? Yes,
absolutely.
Just launched. Actually, I don't know if I have any good examples, but now you can import Photoshop files into XD
and Sketch.
Very good, Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Well, Sam, you had a cool example of a design system. Let's go back to our topic here, and let's talk a little bit more about design systems.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
This one is, man, this is, I think this is pretty new, right? Or within the last year or two. What was?
Might be around a year old.
Yeah.
I'm not sure when Netflix did their rebrand, but Gretel, which is a design agency, I think that's how you say it, did a new Netflix rebrand. And this is really mainly about Netflix's brand, not necessarily their design system. But you see how a design system starts mixing with the brand and how they become...
I think material design is very similar to that, right? Like there's the experience of an application that's meant to be viewed on screen has elements of brand already applied to it. And this is a really cool, because I think it's a very integrated approach to that, where like UI and UX actually becomes part of that brand story.
Yeah, and so they have a lot of really awesome animation, and look, they're talking about different levels of like layers of these different, they have this idea of the card, and these cards can stack on top of each other and they move in this really nice animated fashion. And you can see how something like this, which was a brand element, can actually start working its way into an interface.
Yeah.
And how you animate the interface.
Yeah. Kevin had a question. Yeah, I think so. the way in which, I think we're talking about design systems, we kind of set it up earlier, is that the goal of a design system is consistency and keeping everyone in sync from a single source of truth. So your design team is using the right components at the right time, and then your developer has coded those components, and developed them in code in their development environment, in their framework, right? So there's a one-to-one relationship between those things. So everybody's in sync, and we can build things in a very modular, very Lego-like way. And as, of course, we become more sophisticated in our use of digital products and services, brand has started to become, and the usage of those UI elements has started to sort of layer into these design systems. And so for a large company like Netflix, who is, their customers are on anything with a screen, on any any operating system, whether it's Samsung's on my TV at home or iOS, like people are interacting with Netflix there, and so brand has become an important layer in their design system.
Yeah, absolutely. I just love these moving cards, and I actually wish they put more of this into their interface.
Yeah,
because you see it in some of their ads, and they use the different stripes of these moving end logo. If you've seen like a commercial for a Netflix series, they'll use that animation.
Well, the secret is implementing a design system is hard.
It's hard.
I mean, I'll share it in a moment, but this is years of work for you to see these moving cards inside the Netflix app on your iOS device. Is a ton of work.
It is.
So
they even talk about easing here of those animations. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
that's cool.
It's all it all ties in.
There's one interesting thing I want you to scroll down to that we were talking about earlier, which is that there's this is kind of like, as we become kind of more well versed in creating these systems, and you say we're creating a better sort of connection between design and code. Part of code is actually data, right? Mm-hmm. And there's this really cool thing that you showed me on this one earlier, where Netflix is actually are using data to influence the design, the implementation of the design system.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah. And this gets really interesting. So there's an article on the Netflix blog about this, but basically they have their design system as this grid, and then they're actually personalizing what you see on Netflix.com. They're personalizing it to you, not just what shows you see, but even the artwork of those shows. Mm-hmm. So Stranger Things, great show. For example, they have different types of thumbnails, and this is only a few of them. There are actually like tons.
Yeah.
And they'll show you, they'll look at your what you've watched, your history, and analyze what type of thumbnail you actually might be most likely to be engaged with. So you could see how maybe someone that watches a lot of horror movies might click on this one in the bottom left, right? And so they'll actually like A/B test this and see which ones get more engagement. So it's really tying like the content into the design system and making it personal as well. Yeah. So this is super fascinating.
I think that's as design is, seeing design represented in code, and as code is being deployed, and the data is being, the user data is actually being sort of given through these products and services. It's really fascinating to think about how that impacts the design process as that data now can flow back through that system. Because before, we'd hand over design to our developer as a PSD or as a PDF, and they would implement it, and then the content for that would be stored somewhere else, and then it would come together, on a server somewhere, and then just kind of be out there, really disconnected from that full system, right? And now, as these systems are being more connected, data is flowing back into the system. So, and coming back to the designer in some cases, and how does that influence kind of where we take design and how we think about design in the future? It's really fascinating.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I'm going to show now, hold on one second. I'm going to pull it up here on my screen. I got to go find it. I thought I had this pulled up earlier. So we have a design system here at Adobe.
We do, yeah.
And I want to share a little bit of that because I think it's something that we, of course, use in our work. So it kind of shows kind of how we work in XD. And again, a little more inception happening here. Yeah, let me open it up here.
Okay. There we go.
Okay, here we are.
Awesome.
So this is
Spectrum.
what we call Spectrum.
Yeah.
All right. So this is an XD design file, that Sam and I use when we're designing new features for XD. Again, we don't want to have to go and redesign a button, and we want that button to look like the same button that's being used with the Photoshop designer or the Dimensions designer. David had a question earlier. David, I wanted to make sure I got to it. Copy and paste does work pretty well across from Illustrator to XD and from Photoshop to XD. So I keep seeing you pop up, and I wanted to make sure I answered that question. So
absolutely,
you popped up again, and I want to make sure I hit it. So so here we are, and again, like this is where the designers, all the design team at Adobe, so that's designers working across, on XD, Photoshop designers working in Acrobat. We're all using this Spectrum UI file as part of our design system, and there's color styles, and there are global character styles in this file, and some of the files are symbols, and then we copy and paste and pull those into our working files, the master presentation file I was showing you earlier. And that's how we start to build. And again, it really helps us sort of get up and going off the ground on new features very quickly, helps us get to that prototype stage, and it helps keep us consistent and keep us in sync with the rest of the design happening here at Adobe. Really valuable.
Yeah, so there are tons of these components, and there's multiple files of, so this one's buttons, this is different types of buttons.
Different types of buttons here.
Different icons, we have an icon library that we pull from.
Yep. So and then again, what we're doing here at Adobe is we're actually seeing this implemented in code. And so I actually have that pulled up here. We actually have a site that is showing, and actually this is the CSS version of these components. So now let me go to the button here, and here's that same button in code. Actually, let me pull this over. You can see them side by side. So there's my action button. Here's my action button in code. And now here in the design file, all the different states are sort of like all copied, all sort of shown visually. But here on the web, I can actually show the different states of that button just right here on the web. So this named button, this action button, is in the design file, and it's represented one-to-one in code. Again, our developers sort of implemented those here. And it really helps us, again, when we deliver new designs, my developer, they know exactly which component to use. And they already probably have a code, little snippet, little chunk of code they can just copy and paste directly into their development environment. And again, we know, I don't have to go and check it as a designer. I know it's going to be the button that I'm using in my design file. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I like this question Kevin has. So how do you know when a design system works? How do you know if it's good or not?
Well, that's a really good question. What do you think, Sam?
I was asking you.
Okay. Well, I didn't know you were asking. I think that it's this is years of work.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that seeing the results of a design system is something that you have to be very patient for. That you have to get a lot of, at a large company in particular, you have to get a lot of buy-in. Again, you have to get a lot of people really, really engaged and really invested in making this design system happen, and making like here at Adobe, we want the Adobe apps to feel like they're coming from one company. And so again, that's a big challenge for us. But again, it all starts with a design, and for us, it starts in Adobe XD. That's where these designs were created first. The first designs for Spectrum were created in Adobe XD. Again, a little bit of an inception. Oh, yeah. Some of the first designs for using Spectrum were actually designs for Adobe XD.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Crazy, mind blown.
Awesome.
And so again, thanks for joining us today, everyone.
Absolutely.
If you have any questions, reach out to us on Twitter, Mr. Talon, Sam.design.
Yep, Sam.
Reach out to anyone on the Adobe XD team. We're always here and always ready to answer questions. And join us next week, Friday, noon Pacific time, and we'll be back talking about another topic. If you got an idea for a topic, hit me up on Twitter.
Awesome.
Thanks for joining us today, everyone.
Thank you so much.
We could go for forever on this stuff.
Oh yeah, we could.
All right, thanks, guys.